Hello dear aspirants, welcome to Epitome IAS. In today's class, whichever question we are seeing, almost I think 7 questions are there. All these 7 questions are directly from the 2024 prelims and from the climatology, especially we are talking about climatology topic today. So these 7 questions are from the climatology and from the 2024 prelims. So consider the following statements. Annual and daily range of temperature is very low. Second, precipitation occurs throughout the year. Third, precipitation varies between 50 centimeter and 250 centimeter. So the thing is, these description, go and check the 11th NCRT. The physical geography, world physical geography, I think fundamentals of physical geography in the 11th class NCRT. Go and check the chapter, climate, world climate. You will be literally seeing these lines as it is without any change. They have given some description about a climate type and they are asking which of this climate type is having this description. So these description or these whatever they have given, it is directly there in the NCRT. Go and check once. So the correct answer would be marine west coast climate. So why I'm saying this? For geography, it is important that you cover the NCRTs, especially the physical, world physical and the Indian physical geography. Okay. So you'll be getting more questions directly asked from the NCRTs. So the first description would be annual and daily range of temperature is very low. Yes, in case of a marine west coast climate, the annual and the daily range of temperature is very low. The precipitation occurs throughout the year. Okay. Then precipitation varies between 50 centimeter to 250 centimeter. Factual, direct question. Then we'll see the description of the marine west coast climate. These are directly taken from the NCRT. Okay, no need to go for other resources. You can directly read from the NCRT. So this maritime west coast climate is located poleward from the Mediterranean climate on the west coast of the continent. Let me show you let us say this area, we can see the Mediterranean type of climate. So towards the western side of this particular Mediterranean type of climate, we can see this particular, type of climate, that is the marine west coast type of climate. Okay, usually there is a presence of ocean, that's why it's known as marine and west coast. Mostly this particular climate type is seen in the western side of a west coast. Okay, so this is one area where you can have this type of climate, that is northwestern Europe. Then you have west coast of North America, see here. Then we have southern Chile. Then we have southeastern Australia and New Zealand. So if you see here, in this case, southeastern Australia and New Zealand, we have this particular type of climate. But in this case, it is not present in the western coast of the continent. So in geography, there are some exceptions. Okay, you can't expect it should be perfect. So mostly in case of marine type of climate, it is present in the western side of the continent, along with the ocean. Okay, that's why it's called as marine west coast climate type. Okay, but in some cases it is also present in the eastern side. For example, you can see Australia and New Zealand. Okay, so this is the location of this particular type of climate. And due to the marine influence, so this type of climate is always present where there is a influence of marine, that is the ocean. The presence of ocean is there. Then the temperature is moderate. So whenever this temperature, this type of climate, it is present because it is present near the oceans, the temperature of these locations are always moderate. It is not too cold or it is not too hot, because the water can actually maintain the temperature. So that's why the areas which are present near the water, they can actually maintain the temperature. The temperature is neither too hot and nor too cold, and in winter it is warmer than for its latitude. So let us say in a latitude compared to the, let's say in the same latitude, okay, another location you pick up, and this particular type of climate, this location, if you see, it is much warmer in the winter. I'll show. If you see here, yes, this is the same latitude, we are picking a same latitude, okay. So this region in winters it will be comparatively warmer when you compare another location from the same latitude. This location will be somewhat colder. That's what they are saying. In case of a winter, this particular climate will be comparatively warmer, then the mean temperature in summer months ranges from 15 degree to 20 degrees Celsius. So what is the mean temperature during the summer? It is 15 to 20 degree, and in the winter it is 4 to 10 degree. Okay. Then the annual. So these are the three three lines which were directly asked in the question. So the annual and the daily temperature ranges are small, very low, and precipitation is almost occurring throughout the year. Okay. Then we have this precipitation varies from 50 to 250 centimeter. So these are the description directly given in the NCERT, which was asked in the question in 2024 just now. Okay. So you should read the NCERTs. Okay. Then next question. With reference to the Coriolis force, which of the following statements are correct? It increases with increase in wind velocity. It is maximum at the poles and absent at the equator. So first of all, what is this Coriolis force? Coriolis force is, let us say, because of the rotation of the earth is rotating, right, constantly from west to east. So because of this rotation, when there is a movement of wind, these wind are deflected in certain direction. So this particular, force is called as a Coriolis force. So let me show you the picture. Let us say this is the earth, and the earth is rotating from west towards the east. Now what will happen whenever there is a wind which is flowing in this direction? The wind is deflected towards the right, in the northern hemisphere. So the wind is deflected towards the right in the northern hemisphere. Let us say the wind is flowing in this direction. Now how it will deflect? It will deflect again in the right side. Okay, now the right side would be this. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? So whenever in the northern hemisphere, the wind is flowing, the wind get deflected towards its right. It's right, not your right. So this is the direction of the wind. So the right is on this side. And let us say the wind is flowing in this direction. Now the right will be on this side. So based on the its flow, its direction, it will be moving towards the right. But in case of a southern hemisphere, what will happen? Let us say this wind is moving in this direction. Now the wind will get deflected towards the left side. Okay, in case of northern hemisphere, the wind will get deflected towards the right side. But in case of a southern hemisphere, the wind will get deflected towards the left side. And let us say this wind is actually moving in this direction. Now again it will move in the deflect in the left hand side. So what is the left hand side? This is the left hand side of that wind, not your left, the wind's left. Okay. So this is the deflection. Now in the first statement what they are saying is, because of this Coriolis force, it increases with increase in the wind velocity. The thing is, yes, that is true. Let us say this is the direction of the wind. Now let us say the wind will flow in different velocity, in different speed, right? So whenever the speed of the wind is more, then the deflection will be more. Let us say this speed of this wind is very Let us take two cases. Okay, this is case 1 and this is case 2. Let us say this wind, both the wind are moving in the same direction from this side to this side. Okay, both are going to get deflected on the right side, no doubt about it. But let us say in case 1, the wind is moving in a normal speed, but in case 2, the wind is moving in very high speed compared to the case 1. Now what will happen is, these in case 1, this wind will be slightly deflected to its right, but in case of this wind, it will be deflected more compared to the case 1. Okay, that's what they are saying. So whenever the velocity of the wind is higher, the deflection will also be more, and whenever the velocity of the wind is lower, the deflection will be also lower. Okay, so the first statement says, with the increase in velocity of the wind, there will be increase in Coriolis effect. Yes, this is true. Then second statement says that it is maximum at poles and absent at equator. Is that so? Yes. Whenever, let us say this is Earth, this is equator. In the equator, the effect of Coriolis is near zero. It is nearly absent in the equator, and it will increase when you move towards the pole. The Coriolis effect will be increasing towards the pole. So it would be maximum in the region of the poles. So this is also a correct statement. Option C, both 1 and 2 is correct. Now, these are some facts related to the Coriolis force. The rotation of the Earth about its axis affects the direction of the wind, and this force is called as Coriolis force. It has great impact on the direction of the wind movement. Due to this effect, what will happen? The winds in the northern hemisphere gets deflected to the right. In the northern hemisphere, whenever the wind is moving in a direction, it will get deflected towards its right. But in the southern hemisphere, whatever the direction of the wind will be deflected towards its left, not the right, left. Okay, so this law is actually called as Ferrel's law. Remember this. Okay, what is Ferrel's law? Ferrel's law says that because of the Coriolis effect, the winds in the northern hemisphere, they deflect towards the right, and the winds in the southern hemisphere, they deflect towards their left. Okay, then the deflection force increases with wind velocity. Whenever the speed of the wind is high, the deflection would be more, and whenever the speed of the wind is very less, the deflection will also be very less. Okay, then apart from that, air mass. So whenever there is, the air mass is more. Okay, it is also depending on the air mass. When the air mass is more, the deflection will be more, and when the air mass is less, the deflection will be less. And in case of a latitude, so this case, what is latitude? We have equator, we have other latitudes, and we have pole. Whenever you move from the equator to the pole, so what will happen? Whenever you move towards the pole, the deflection will be more. The Coriolis force, the effect of this Coriolis force will be more. That's why in the equator it is zero. The effect of the Coriolis force is very near zero, and in the equator it is high, maximum. Then the Coriolis force is directly proportional to the angle of latitude, maximum at the poles and absent at the equator. Then you can see this. Okay, this is the equatorial, we know, equatorial low pressure. You know that it is also known as a doldrum. And now these trade winds are actually moving from in this direction. In northern hemisphere, this is northern hemisphere, and this side we have southern hemisphere. Northern hemisphere, and we have southern hemisphere. So now the trade winds are moving in this direction here. In the southern hemisphere, they are moving in this direction, and there is a low pressure formed here. Okay, so now in the northern hemisphere, because of the Coriolis force, the wind will be deflected to the right side of the wind, and in the southern hemisphere, the wind will be deflected to the left side of the wind. That's why this deflection is on left side everywhere. See, and in case of this northern hemisphere, it is deflected towards the right side. Okay. Now, apart from the trade wind, these two are trade winds. Trade winds. Okay. This is trade wind. Now we have westerlies. So these westerlies, if you see, let us say this is the direction of the westerly. Okay. It is moving in the upward direction. And we know that in northern hemisphere, what will be the deflection? Deflection will be on the right side. So what is the right side of this wind? This is the right side. So that's why the wind is deflected in the right side throughout the westerlies. Okay. In the northern hemisphere. But in the southern hemisphere, the direction of the wind is this. This is the direction of the wind. Now, it will be deflected to the left in the southern hemisphere. So what is left for this wind? This is the left. This is the left. So that's why the wind is deflected in this direction. Okay, then we have polar easterlies. In case of polar easterlies, they are in this direction from top to bottom. They are moving this direction in the northern hemisphere, and we know in northern hemisphere the wind is deflected towards the right. So what is right for this particular wind? This is right. Okay, so that's why the wind is moving in that direction. But in case of a polar easterlies in the southern hemisphere, and as we know, southern hemisphere left side. So what is left side for this wind? This is the left side. So that's why the wind is moving in the left direction. Okay, in this direction. So the next question, one of the following regions has the world's largest tropical peatland, which holds about 3 years worth of global carbon emissions from fossil fuels, and the possible destruction of which can exert a detrimental effect on the global climate. Which of the following denotes that particular region? Amazon basin, Congo basin, Kikori basin, and Rio de la Plata basin. Okay, so this is a factual question. Which of the following is the world's largest tropical peatland? The answer is Congo basin. So that is the world's largest, peatland. So let us see some of the information related to the Congo basin. So the Congo basin is the home to world's largest tropical peatland, and these peat swamp forest of the Congo basin stores around 29 billion tons of carbon. Okay, 29 billion tons of carbon, approximately equivalent to 3 years worth of global greenhouse emission. Okay, 3 years worth of global greenhouse emission, while the basin as a whole absorbs nearly 1.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide in a year. And the Congo basin is one of the world's largest region that absorbs more carbon than it emits. Okay, this Congo basin is actually absorbing more carbon than what it actually emits. Okay, it's possible destruction can have detrimental effect on the global climate. So these are some of the facts related to the Congo basin. Okay, if you see these peatlands, these marshlands, we have mangroves and etc. Right? So these are actually nothing but they're called as carbon sinks. So these carbon, they store the carbon. Okay, because of the carbon emission, man-made carbon emission, there is an increase in the carbon dioxide, right? And because of the increase in carbon dioxide, what we are facing the global warming and the related, effects of the global warming. We are facing that. So these are some of the, forests, oceans, marshlands or peatlands, mangroves. These are some of the natural carbon sinks. They store tons of carbons, okay, in it. Let us say when you are destroying a particular forest or when you are destroying a particular marshland, peatland, then what will happen? First of all, it is saving a lot of carbon inside it. It is also, whatever carbon is present in the atmosphere, they are taking, inside them. So they are doing two works here. One, they are already storing a lot of carbon, and one, they are also helping in absorbing the carbon from the atmosphere. But when you destroy this particular marshland, peatland, forest, what will happen? Two effects will be there. One is when you destroy whatever it is present inside the particular, peatland, it will get released and it will increase the, presence of carbon in the atmosphere. This is one of the effect. The other effect is how much tons of carbons it was taking in every year. This is also gone. Okay, there are two effects, and these two effects are very detrimental to the global climate. So because of that only, they're talking about the Congo basin here. It is one of the largest equatorial peatland, and it actually, it stores around 29 billion tons of carbon. That is 3 years worth of global greenhouse emission. Whatever emission the world it is, emitting, the amount of carbon, that much is stored in this particular Congo basin. Okay, so this is the region. This is the Congo basin. Then next question: which of the following is are correct in reference inferences from the isothermal maps in the month of January? Okay. First statement: the isotherms deviate to the north over the ocean and to the south over the continent. Statement 2: the presence of cold ocean currents, Gulf Stream, North Atlantic Drift make the North Atlantic Ocean colder and isotherms bend towards the north. So if you see here, this is the picture of the isotherm during the month of January. Okay, so what are these isotherms? Isotherms are, the lines. These are isotherms, the lines which, mark the location which are having the same temperature. Okay, isotherms are lines which marks the, locations with the same temperature. So let us take one line. Let us take this 10 degrees Celsius line. Okay, if you see here in the continent, it is here, and in the ocean, it is moving towards the north. Once it is reaching the continent, again it is moving towards the south. So what's happening to this, lines here in the continent? During the continent, in the continent, it is moving towards the south, and when it is moving towards throughout the ocean, it is moving towards the north. So why this is happening? Let me explain. So we know that this line is a 10 degrees Celsius. This location which the line passes, these locations are having a temperature of 10 degrees Celsius. What happens is in January, in the ocean, let us say this is ocean, this is continent. Compared to the continent, the ocean would be much warmer. Okay. Why? Because in the January, in the northern hemisphere, we are having what? We are having winters, right? So in the winter, the continents would be much colder than the oceans. So the continent is 10 degrees Celsius. In that case, the ocean, would be much warmer than the continent. So it would be, let's say, 11 degrees Celsius. I'm just giving a difference of 1 degree Celsius. So let us say this ocean is 11 degrees Celsius, but the continent is 10 degrees Celsius. But as I already told you, the isotherms, they join the locations which are having same temperature. So because of this, what will happen when you move towards the north, it will be having 10 degrees Celsius. Here, this imaginary line is nothing but it's 11 degrees Celsius. So that's why we know that the oceans are comparatively warmer than the continents. When you move towards the north, what will happen? The temperature will be decreasing. That's why this particular line is moving towards north. But once you reach the continent again, what will happen? Now this is 10 degrees Celsius in the ocean, but in the continent it is not 10 degrees Celsius. Okay, it would be 9 degrees Celsius because the continents are much colder compared to the oceans. So this line would be 9 degrees Celsius. Because of that, this line is coming towards the south in the continents. So technically during the month of January, that is, we are having winter in the northern hemisphere. What will happen to isotherms? The isotherms will be moving towards the north in the oceans and moving towards the south in the continents. Okay, because of this variation in the temperature. So now if you see here, that is what is happening to all these, isotherms. These are different lines which are, having, see this. So that is the thing. Okay. And if you see here, mostly we can see the variation, the deviation is much higher in northern hemisphere compared to the southern hemisphere. What is the reason? The reason is, compared to the southern hemisphere, the northern hemisphere is having a lot of continent. The continental area present in the northern hemisphere is very high. And if you see in the southern hemisphere, the continents are much, they are having a smaller area compared to the northern hemisphere. So whenever there is a, difference in the continent, then water, ocean, then continent, then water, ocean. So this is happening in the northern hemisphere. Because of this, there is more deviation in the northern hemisphere. But in the southern hemisphere, we have more water compared to the land. That's why the deviation is somewhat, less compared to the northern hemisphere. This thing you should also remember. So if you see here in the first statement, what they are saying is the isotherms deviate north over the ocean and south over the continent. Is that true? Yes, in January, just now we saw what will happen in January. The isotherms, they are actually moving or deviating towards the north in the ocean and towards the south in the continents. This statement is a correct statement. Then second statement says that the presence of cold ocean currents, Gulf Stream, North Atlantic drift make the North Atlantic Ocean colder and the isotherms bend over north. So if you see here, first fact is the North Atlantic Ocean, it has warm ocean currents, not cold ocean currents. They have mentioned about the cold ocean current. And this Gulf Stream, this North Atlantic drift, these are some of the warm currents. They are not cold currents. And because of the presence of the warm currents, what will happen? It will make the North Atlantic Ocean as, warmer compared to the other parts. Okay. So that's why this particular statement would be a wrong statement. So what is the correct answer? Option A is the correct answer. So now if you see, yes, this is the map of a ocean currents, and the red currents which you are seeing, the red ones, they are warm currents. Okay, and the blue ones are actually cold currents. So if you see here, they in the question they were asked about the Gulf Stream, the North Atlantic drift. These are some of the examples of warm current. Because of the presence of these warm current, the North Atlantic Ocean would be warmer compared to the, other parts. Okay, in the question they have given, because of this cold current, the North Atlantic Ocean is colder. No, that's wrong. Because of the warm currents, it is warmer. Okay, that is one point which you have to notice. And there is another one point. What is that? So another point which you have to see is, yes, we saw this line, right? Yes, this isotherms are moving towards the north in the ocean. That is correct. But it is not because the North Atlantic Ocean is, warmer. Okay. It's not because it is colder. It's because it's warmer. Okay. If you see this particular, line, that is 10 degrees Celsius, and the imaginary line, if you draw, it would be somewhat 11 degrees Celsius. So technically the North Atlantic Ocean is comparatively warmer than the continent, because this continent is going to be colder and this North Atlantic Ocean is comparatively warmer. Why it is warmer? Because of the presence of the warm currents like North Atlantic drift and the Gulf Stream. Okay, so that's why that statement, the second statement, it has two mistakes. One is they have said these currents are cold currents. No, they are not cold currents, they are warm currents. And because of the warm currents, this make this particular North Atlantic Ocean warmer. And they said it makes colder. No, it makes warmer. That is one point. The second point is it moves towards north, not because it is colder, because it is warmer. Okay, these are the 2 points which are wrong in that particular statement. So if you see here, the isotherms are generally parallel to the latitude. So generally speaking, in ideal condition, we can say it should be parallel to the equator. But what happens because of the variation in the temperature between the continents and the oceans, because of that there is a deviation in the isotherms. So let me show you, let us give you an example. Let us say it is a summer. It is during the July, okay, and we have another condition during January, we have winter. So these are the two cases. Now what will happen? There is a temperature difference between the ocean and the continent in both the cases. But you should remember how it moves, how the isotherms moves, whether towards the north or towards the south. Let us say this is continent and this is ocean. Again, this is continent, this is ocean. We'll be seeing the two cases. We already saw the case in the January. So let us recall this one. Let us say this is the isotherm, this line which is there. It is 10 degrees Celsius. And during the winter, the continents are, colder compared to the oceans. So the oceans are comparatively warmer during the winter. Okay. So this imaginary line would be, straight line. In case of a straight line, this imaginary line in the ocean, it would be of 11 degrees Celsius because the continent is colder and the ocean is warmer. So that's why the isotherm moves towards the north to make it 10 degrees Celsius. Okay. So in case of a winter, January, the isotherms moves towards the north over the ocean, and it moves again. Let us say this is the continent. It will move towards the south over the continent. Okay. But in case of a summer, things will be reversed. How? Let us say this is 10 degrees Celsius. Just an example. I'm giving an example. So let us say in continent it is 10 degrees Celsius. So in summer, what will happen? The continents are warmer compared to the oceans. The oceans are colder. And why it is warmer? Why the continents are warmer? Because the land, it gets heats up faster and it gets colder faster. But the water, because it can maintain the temperature, it is moderate. It neither get too cold or neither get too warm. That's why during the summer the continents are more warmer compared to the oceans. Now let us say this isotherm is moving towards the ocean. Now what will happen? How will it will move? Now this imaginary line would be 9 degrees Celsius. Okay, because the oceans are comparatively colder than the continents. Now the isotherms will move south over the oceans to have this 10 degrees Celsius. So again, let us say when it is passing through a continent, again it will move towards north in the continents. This is continent. Okay. So during the summer, the isotherms will move south towards the ocean and moves towards the north in the continents. Simple. Okay. This thing you have to remember. If you want, take a screenshot or note this thing down. Okay. So this is the thing. In northern hemisphere, the land surface area is much larger than the southern hemisphere. Hence, the effect of the land mass and the ocean currents are well pronounced. And in January, what happens? The isotherms, they deviate towards the north. They deviate towards the north in the January over the ocean and towards the south in the continent, over the continent. This can be seen on the North Atlantic Ocean. And the presence of warm currents, these are warm currents, Gulf Stream, North Atlantic Drift, these are warm currents. This will make the Atlantic Ocean warmer. Okay. and the isotherms bend towards the north because the Atlantic Ocean is warmer, and over the land the temperature decreases sharply, and the isotherms bend towards the south in the Europe. Okay, so with that we have come to the end of this video, and we have completed part 1 of the climatology from the geography, and we'll be doing other parts as well. Today's question, whatever the question, 7 number of questions we have saw, right? So these questions are directly from the 2024 paper, and from the topic climatology. We'll be doing other PYQs from different years. Okay, so we'll see in the next class. Thank you, students.